I've built enough AI automations to know this. In 2026, AI is coming for your job. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic. I'm just saying it because I've watched what happens when you take a repetitive workflow and automate it end to end. And once a business sees that it works, they don't go back. So if you're watching this and you've been telling yourself, AI won't affect me, or my industry is different, or that's just for tech people, then listen closely. Because the most dangerous thing you can do in 2026 is to assume you are safe. Now, let me start with what I mean by AI is coming for your job. I don't mean a robot walks in, taps you on the shoulder, and says, pack it up. It's not going to look like that. It's going to look like this. Your company quietly starts automating the boring parts of the business, one workflow at a time. And then one day you wake up and you realize that your role got smaller, your team got smaller, your department was hiring, and the task that used to justify your position are now being handled by a tool or an automation someone built inside N8N. That's how this happens. And this is how I see it also happening in 2026. It's not like a sudden takeover, it's just a silent upgrade. Now, what kinds of jobs does AI hits first? The ones that are repetitive, in my opinion. So, jobs that are basically the same steps, but with like a different name, different customer, different tickets, different spreadsheets. So think about tasks like data entry, copying and pasting information between two systems, updating CRMs, booking appointments, sending follow-ups, responding to the same customer questions, pulling weekly reports, cleaning spreadsheets, writing basic summaries. The list can go on and on and on and on. Those tasks are really repetitive, and all of that is already being automated right now. And the reason is simple because businesses don't pay people for effort, they pay people for outcomes. And for repetitive works, the outcome is predictable, which means it can easily be automated. Now, I want you to really hear this part. Companies do not need AI to be perfect. They just need it to be good enough. And that's the part most people don't understand. Humans aren't perfect. Customer service reps aren't perfect. They get it wrong all the time. Admins aren't perfect. Junior analysts aren't perfect. So the bar is not really perfection. The bar is it cheaper than a human? Is it fast enough? Is it accurate enough? Can we fix it when it breaks? Does it reduce our workload? Now, if the answer to all these questions is a yes, then it gets deployed. And once it's deployed, the company adjusts and gradually they start moving tasks that a human would do. They get the AI automation to do it. They don't fire everyone on day one. They do something more subtle. They'll stop hiring. So you see that there'll be lots of like hiring freezes across departments. They will not replace the person who leaves or quit. They spread the remaining work across fewer people, and then they'll promote the person who can manage the automation, and then they'll cut the roles that were mostly repetitive tasks. So that's why this hits entry level roles so bad, because entry level roles usually exist to do repetitive tasks. So if you're early in your career or you're in a role that has a lot of repeatable work, this is the wake up call. Now, let me make this real with examples. Here are the kinds of automations I've built or I've seen other people build. So, for instance, a business that gets calls after hours. So, instead of a voicemail, an AI voice agent would answer and it asks the right questions, collects the details, summarizes the call, and then sends the summary to the team. And then also goes ahead to log it into the CRM, creates a follow up task, and if it's urgent, it now escalates it to a human being. At the end of the day, no reception is needed, no misleads, no voicemail scrubbing, no I'll call them back later tomorrow. And that's revenue recovery. Now, here's another example, customer support. So instead of a human answering the same basic questions all day, an AI voice agent will just review your knowledge base, searches your docs, and pulls the right answer and replies in your tone. And when it's not sure, would again escalate it to a human. So at the end of the day, you still have support reps, but you need fewer of them. And the ones you do keep are handling the complex cases. Now here's another example, recruiting and HR. AI sort of free screens resumes, summarizes candidates, donates interview questions, writes outreach emails, settles interviews, follow up automatically, and then creates scorecards after the interview. Again, you still need humans, but the number of hours drops dramatically. Now, let me give you another one, finance and operations. So this would be an AI automation that reads invoices, extracts the data, matches it to purchase orders, flags anomalies, routes approvals, and updates the accounting system. That's not happening in the future. That's happening right now. And the pattern is always the same. If the work is structured, if it's repeatable, and it has a clear input and output, This is something that can easily be automated. And those jobs are the ones that are at high risk of getting replaced. Now, here's the part where people get defensive. They're like, okay, but my job is creative, or my job is relationship based, or my job is about strategy, or even my job is leadership. And yeah, that's true. Those roles are safer. But let me be honest, most jobs are a mix, right? Even for creative jobs, they have repetitive parts. Even relationship based jobs have admin cracks to them. Even strategy jobs have reporting. And even leadership jobs have scheduling, follow ups, summaries, and all those repetitive activities. So the real question is not, can AI do my entire job? The question is what percentage of my job is repetitive tasks? Because AI doesn't replace jobs first. It replaces the chunks of jobs that are repetitive. And when enough chunks disappear, the job disappears or the job ends up shrinking to very fewer responsibility. Now, I'm going to say something that might sound harsh, but it's important. AI replaces tasks and not people. But if your job is mostly tasks, that's what's at risk. So what can you do then? So here's where I'm going to flip the script, because earlier I said AI is coming for your job in 2026 and there's nothing you can do about it. And what I meant is that there's nothing you can do to stop companies from adopting AI. The incentives are too strong. The return on investment are massive, but there's something you can do for yourself. So you can move up the value chain. You can stop being the person who does repetitive work, or you can stop being the person who's in a role that involves a lot of repetitive manual work and become the person who designs the processes, who owns the outcomes, who manages the automations, and also handles the edge cases. Now, let me translate that into normal language. So instead of being the person who copies the data, you become the person who knows what data matters. Instead of being the person who writes the first draft, you become the person who sets the direction and edits. Instead of being the person who answers the same support questions, you now become the person who improves the systems and handles the complex cases that come across the support desk. Also, instead of being the person who builds the reports every Friday, you become the person who explains what it means and what to do next. This is the shift. And the people who make it, I'm sure they'll be fine in 2026 at least. And the people who don't will feel like the floor is moving right under them. Now, here's a simple way to audit your job right now. I want you to think about your last week at work and answer these questions. What did I do that could be turned into a checklist? What did I do that I repeated more than 5 times? Or what did I do that involved copying information from one place to the other? Another question you can also ask yourself is, what did I do that was basically follow this template? Or what did I do that could be explained as steps? Whatever you list there is your automation risk zone. And it doesn't mean you are useless. It means that the tasks are automatable. So now step 2, I want you to pick one of those tasks and automate it yourself. It means that you may have to learn a new skill. You don't need to do this at an enterprise level yet. It shouldn't be some huge project. But just pick one of those tasks. Because at the end of the day, the fastest way to become AI proof is to become AI capable. And don't feel scared because you don't need to become an engineer. All you need is to become someone who understands how to describe a process clearly, how to use tools, how to get AI to do the first 80% of your work. And then the last 20% is still human judgment. And that last 20% is where you become valuable. Now, I want to talk about a big mistake people make. They think AI adoption is about the best AI tool or it's about the most shiny AI tool out there. But the reality is that it's not. It's not about the person who cannot connect the dots. The person who can say, here's what we are trying to accomplish, here's the workflow, here's the data we need, here's what good looks like, here's the human handoff, here's how we monitor it. That person becomes hard to replace at work. Because at the end of the day, you're not just doing tasks, you're running systems. And systems thinking is a real career mode in 2026. I'm going to give you a reality check. In 2026, a lot of people will lose their jobs. That's a fact. Not because they are bad, not because they didn't work hard, but because their work became easier to automate than to stop. Scariest part of all this is that it's happening quietly. There's not going to be big announcements, no AI replace your department's headline. It will just be something around restructuring, efficiency, streamlining, optimization, cost reductions, headcount freeze. Those are the words you're going to hear in your company, in your organization. So if you want to protect yourself, you need a strategy. Here's a simple 3-part strategy. Part 1, own a business outcome, not a task. So instead of saying, I manage the inbox, you can say, I reduce response time and improve customer satisfaction. Instead of saying, I send follow-ups, you can say, I increase conversion and reduce churn. Now, when you tie yourself to outcomes, you become very harder to cut. Part 2, learn to work with AI, not against it. So start using it daily to craft summaries, drafts, templates, automation, analysis, anything you can automate, or any sort of manual or repetitive task. The goal is not to become a prompt wizard. At the end of the day, the goal is to become someone who can consistently leverage AI. And then part three, become the bridge between humans and systems. So if you can translate business needs into workflows, you become essential. Because even if the tools are easy, most people won't do it. They'll complain, they'll procrastinate, they'll say we should really automate this someday. You become the person who actually does the job. Now, let me say something encouraging. This is not the end of work. This is the end of certain types of work. The boring work, the repetitive one, the manual ones, the work that drains people. And honestly, that's not a bad thing at all. But the problem is that the transition is going to be messy. And the people wait until they're forced to change, they'll have the hardest time. The people who start now, even small, even imperfect, will definitely be ahead. So here's my challenge to you. This week, I want you to find one repetitive task you do and replace it with an automation. Even if it saves you 30 minutes a day or even 30 minutes a week, it's important that you take it because that 30 minutes compounds and changes how you think forever. You stop seeing yourself as just a worker or just another employee, and you start seeing yourself as an operator. That shift is everything. And if you want help with this, if you want that exact workflow, the exact templates, the exact tools, and the step-by-step breakdowns of how I'm building these automations, I encourage you to join my school community. You can also subscribe to my other YouTube channel where I teach and build AI automations. Don't wait till 2026 is at hand. Join now, subscribe, because at the end of the day, the people who move early, they always win. And if you are still unsure, I'll leave you with this. AI isn't going to replace you, but someone using AI will.